Alrighty, so here we go. We are in week 4 of studying Asteya, which is non-stealing. And last week we talked about some of how we steal in ways we don't think about, like stealing time from others when we show up late. But we also talked about how we steal from our own joy in our lives by how we treat ourselves. Um, so this week we're going to explore a Sanskrit term that I really like because we don't really have a word like this in our language. It's adhikara, Adikara, the adhikara. And adhikara is a Sanskrit term meaning the right to know or the right to have. So it challenges us with the idea that if we want something, then we better go grow the competency required to actually have that thing that we want in our lives. Um, we can dream all we want and wish all we want for something to happen, but to have the competency to take care of it and to handle it right is what's needed to bring that dream into fruition. And if we get something like that without actually having gained the competency, then it's in its own way stealing. It's stealing from the earth or stealing from our ancestors or whatnot, because it's not something that we have the right to. Um, Usually in our lives, our outcomes are consistent with our abilities, not necessarily our wishes or our goals in life. So, for example, um, um, in order for me to become a yoga therapist, I had to study over 1,000 hours in yoga. Somebody else can go in there and claim that they're a yoga therapist, having never gone through the studies or whatnot. So they would be stealing that title because they don't actually have the competency to hold it. That's a very small way of explaining it. But a really big way of explaining it is think of Donald Trump and like how he's holding on to those taxes because he doesn't want people to know how much money he's really worth. So he has done nothing in his life to earn anything. He inherited his money. His father gave him the money to set him up in business. People have bailed him out forever. He's literally stolen from people to keep his business, like cheating people out of the money he owes them by bullying them. He owes money all over to different banks right now. So he has no adhikara. He does not have the competency to maintain what was given to him. He hasn't earned it. So that's a really great explanation of what adhikara is. Um, so we should all be focusing on our desires and then build our competency to have them. Um, Otherwise, if we get what we want, then we're not going to know how to take care of it properly, use it properly. And again, that comes into the concept of stealing because it's not rightfully ours. Um, Life always seems to give us tasks to do, and we should be able to step up to those tasks. And by being able to do so, by learning how to develop adhikara for these things, it grows us into the types of people that can be trusted with things. So it's a pretty deep concept, um, but it's also a pretty sweet one because it helps us grow ourselves competently in the world. So this week's little practice is for you to think about what your dreams and goals are and make a list of things that you could do or study or try that would increase your knowledge or your competency and bring you closer to your goal, thus building your adhikara. Um, it might be, for example, if you've had a garden before, but you've never started seeds from scratch before. You probably wouldn't just want to go buy a bunch of seeds and stick them in the ground and water them. You'd want to get a book first to read and learn about that. So that's something that would be nice to do for the next month in February, to kind of look at something that you'd like to grow in your life and figure out what steps you could take it, whether you ask somebody to maybe mentor you. Um, like if you've always wanted to learn to sew, maybe you could take a class from Nanette Tuttle in town, or read a book. Just try to think along those lines, or things that you've been trying and trying to do that you haven't been successful at, that you could maybe use some more instruction in, and come up with a plan of how you can maybe make that happen in your life. Um, Next week, we're going to delve into brahmacharya, which is non-excess. So that'll be a fun one. I like that one. So with that, now would be the time to come down to the ground to lie on our mats. And we're going to start off in our bodies, just checking in and scanning through our bodies from our head down to our toes. Noticing what's lying easy on the ground. What maybe feels like it's not settling as gently as the other side. I'm trying to remember how this feels in our bodies. Then I'm going to ask you to take your body and consciously exhale. I want you to try to empty your body of all the air in it. And then begin with that umbrella breath, inhaling down into the belly and allowing the movement of the breath to expand up to the lower part of the rib cage, going nice and wide in the body, all the way up to the collarbones. And on that exhalation, just allowing everything to release, again, starting at the top by the shoulder blades, and back down through the wide part of the rib cage, all the way to the belly. Now, as you're doing this long, slow breath, I want you to try to remember that this torso is kind of a container for the breath and our internal organs. We have 3 diaphragms in play here. So the next time you inhale, noticing that wide expansion at the bottom of the rib cage, trying to breathe very wide into there. Keep in mind that that's where the diaphragm that we always hear about, breathe from your diaphragm, that's where that lives, right there in that space. So we're helping move the bones there away and the muscles away, and helping the diaphragm breathe more gently and more completely. But as we inhale, also notice that there is an expansion up at the top with the collarbones floating up. And there's also a gentle pressure and bulging down at the pelvic floor. And when you exhale, the collarbones release, coming back down to neutral. And that pelvic floor releases and relaxes as well. So see if you can pay attention to the three movements of the diaphragms in the body. See if you can notice each of these spaces. And then I would ask for you to please, 1 foot at a time, slide your feet onto the mat with the knees in the air in constructive resting pose. And pause here and just notice how your body feels now, just from having put your feet in this position. So I'm going to ask if you would please to gently press through the feet and float the bum up in the air just an inch or two in a very small bridge. And then bring that bum gently down onto the floor, maybe rocking it back and forth a bit to make it feel a little wider in the body. Maybe repeat. And then check the position of the feet and the legs. Just really look and see. That little bit of skin at the very top of the calf and the very bottom of the thigh should be barely touching. Just think of cards stacked up against each other. Feel the weight distribution between the heels and the balls of the feet and try to make those even. Double check that the feet really are hip width apart. Trying to make sure that the knees aren't falling away from each other nor dropping in towards each other. And then let's begin that long, slow arching and flattening motion. You want to roll the hips down towards the ground, drawing that tailbone down towards the ground. As the belly button floats up in the air and that sweet little arch appears in the lower back. And then a very long, slow release from this. Really noticing when your body comes back to neutral. And then deliberately starting from neutral into that flattening motion, where the hips roll the opposite direction, slightly coming up off the ground. And the spine starts pressing down, making contact with the floor, one vertebra at a time. Rolling between this arching and flattening movement. Really listening to what your body is asking of you. Trying not to bully your body into making it do what you want to do. If we push our body in this way, we are in a way stealing from our body's opportunity to teach us what it needs. And if you'd like to bring those shoulders into the movement next time you go into that flattening motion, allow the fronts of the shoulders to float up towards the sky above. And when you go into the arch, allow the shoulders to drop down towards the floor behind you. And allow that arching and flattening motion to grow quiet in the body. Gently pressing the feet into the floor and floating that bum up again just a bit. Then bringing it back down onto the floor. We're going to begin doing some knee drops. As a reminder, when one knee is dropping away from the body in one direction, we want to make sure that opposite hip does not start lifting up off the ground. If it does, we're going too far. And by now, I'm assuming that you probably know your limits, but check in with your body to make sure that something hasn't shifted today. Again, really listening as that right knee slowly drops out away from the body and very slowly comes back up. Repeating on the left side. If you check in with yourself, see if you really are going as slowly as you can. With this piece, the slower you go, the more work you find. We're going to take a pause. Next time your knees are both up at the top. And I'm going to ask you to bring the feet together so the inside edges are touching. And then do knee drops in this way. Now, as your knee drops here, obviously, your foot's going to roll with that, and that sole will come up a little bit. Very slowly. You're going to notice more going on, probably this way, if you tune in. Be curious about this movement in the body. You may find that your knees go down further. You may find that you have less range of motion doing this. Just be curious about the differences. There's no answers. There's no right or wrong way. It's just an opportunity to get to know our bodies better. And the next time your knees are both up in the top, just allow them to stay up there. If you would please gently press the knees together up at the top. And then allow both the knees to open up together. Noticing how the lower back goes into a small arch when they come apart. Noticing how when they come back upright and press together again, it flattens. Now, we're trying to do these with our insides of our feet still together, not back in constructive resting pose. But if this is not comfortable to do this way, you prefer to do it the other, feel free to go into constructive resting pose. Okay. Let's bring the knees back upright and stay there. Now, we're going to get our shoulders into this movement. And we're going to do arches and curls. Now, if you're able to, lace the fingers together of the hands and place the hands behind the head so that the elbows are out as you're laying on the ground. If that's too much in your body, to have the hands intertwined behind the head, you can continue to work with it like we were doing before when we were just floating the shoulders up and coming back down. But just once or twice here with the fingers interlaced in behind the head, I want you to just allow that head and hands to lift up off the ground slowly, allowing the elbows to come towards each other as you come up. And then very slowly release as you come back down, down towards the ground as the elbows come apart. And then press the head down into the hands. And repeat, floating back up. And down. And again, if that's too much work and your body doesn't want to work that hard, go ahead and take those hands from behind your head and just work with your shoulders, floating them up and pressing them down. So let's begin by pressing the shoulders down into the floor behind us and feeling how there's a little bit of an arch in our spine from that. And allow those knees to come apart. They don't even have to be slow. We're just going to open up nice and wide. This is a bit like flower that we do at times, but our feet are together. So I'm going to ask you to start bringing those knees up as we start lifting the head and the elbows off the ground, coming into a curl and pressing those knees together. And then slowly, slowly coming back down, knees open up, elbows come away from each other. We go back into an arch. Just do this in your body on your own. And then hug your knees to your chest. And roll your back out. And then allow your legs to grow long. Notice any shifts or changes in your body from when you first checked in. All right. So let's take our spinal strip. And we want to just gently roll a little bit over to one side or the other. We want to place our head and our tailbone on that strip. Our whole spine should be lying on it. And then set yourself up as best you can in easy resting pose. And just lie here for a bit. And do an arch and flatten on the strip. And then let's do a few of those mini arches and curls with the shoulders coming down as we go into the arch. And floating up towards the sky as we flatten. It's going to feel a little more precarious. You're going to have to use that core more to keep yourself stable on the strip. Motion may be smaller than when you do it on the ground. You may find you have more range of motion with the shoulders since they're lifted up off the ground. Okay, bringing both the hands up above the body in steeple arms. You're going to want to balance yourself again. We're going to try to keep that nose in alignment with the hands and keeping the back of the pelvis firmly planted on the strip. We're going to twist our spine gently towards the left and the right. Really paying attention, trying not to have our hips wobble and shift too much. We want to keep them as steady as possible. And then slide the arms down so the hands are on the shoulders. Pay attention to which arm is on top. And again, keeping that nose in alignment as much as you can with where the wrists cross over each other. We're going to do a few more twists here. Just gently rolling the top of our spine left and right. Switch the position of the arms so that the arm that was on the bottom is now on the top. And repeat this again, giving yourself this sweet little lullaby hug. Then release the arms. Gently roll to the side. And remove that strip from behind your back. Then let the legs grow long. And check back in with your body. All right. Well, it's going to be time to use the myofascial balls. So I'm going to talk about that again before we begin. So I asked you to have 2 balls ready, but you may only want to use 1. So that will be one thing that we're going to explore first. So we're going to want to place the ball or balls on our back up at that spot, not up here on the neck, but more up here where the neck comes down to join the torso. So we want to lay on our back and try this first with one ball directly underneath the spine, and then try it with two balls. And I want you to figure out what is the perfect amount for your body today. I personally like the two balls. It makes me feel a little more secure and stable when I do it, but that might not be an issue for you. So I just want you to check that out. And then I want you to check something else out. Once you decide how you want to work with those balls, I want you to let your legs grow long and see how that feels. And then bring them back up into easy resting pose and see how that feels. You can have your legs long or up in easy resting pose until the balls get down to the lower back. And then you're going to need to bring your feet up in easy resting pose, no matter which you prefer. Then, now that you're on the balls, and this may change throughout the practice, I want you to try your arms in different positions. One is up over the head to see how that feels. And one is like either on the torso with your hands or down at the side. So decide which of those is best for your body too. Okay? So now that you got that all figured out, we're going to begin. Now, I know the balls are under your neck, but just a little bit more talking here. If you want to remove them while I finish explaining this a little bit, that you can. It's not going to hurt if you leave them there. We are going to be working on this for most of the rest of the class because I realized I don't give myself enough time to do this. And every time we've done it in class, we've gone through it. So we're going to literally spend about the next 20 minutes or so moving those down the spine. So I want you to think about that. So each time you move the balls, you're really only going to roll them an inch or two. So my easiest way of doing it is I start, like if I'm laying on a mat, really low on the mat. So at least until I get between the shoulder blades, each time I want to move, I gently push my body through the soles of my feet up another inch or so to change the positions. And then I adjust with my fingers if I need to. So maybe you want to try that to see how that feels first, or if you need to do something different. That's another reason I like my feet on the ground. And then we're going to sit on that position and let the fascia release. So if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and settle in. Now, if anything is painful, real pain, then don't let yourself stay in that spot. Move the bowels higher or lower. But so long as there's not too pain, if there's sensation, even a little bit of sharpness, as much as you can, just allow the body to be with that sensation, allowing it to release. Now, as much as you can, allow the jaws to relax, and the neck to relax. Notice if there's any tension down in the pelvis. See if you can release that. As much as you can here, this is an opportunity to practice those long, slow, full umbrella breaths. It's really more of a true diaphragmatic breath. The more relaxed you are in this position, the more you can release. And then go ahead and slide your body up just an inch on those balls, just moving them a little further down. And settle back in. Our jaw and our shoulders are tight. We'll have a tight pelvic floor. If our breathing is tight, we'll have a tight pelvic floor. As much as you can. Release and relax that breath. Now, if you hit any area that's really wanting you to stay there longer, you can feel free to not move when it's time. If it needs to spend a little more time in that space on the ball or balls. And then go ahead and allow yourself to move those balls down another inch in the body. And settle back in. The challenge here is going to be that our backs are all different lengths. So if you end up all the way at the bottom as we're still traveling down, you can start either working back up or you can find spots that you feel like you want the balls there longer and just move them to those areas. See if there's any place in your body that you're holding on to tension in as you're on the balls, and see if you can allow that to relax so you can relax more thoroughly. I'm going to go ahead and roll a bit further with the balls going down the spine. Really pay attention to anything you're holding tighter to compensate for being in the place that you are right now in your spine. And allow that space to let go so you can gain the maximum release from having the balls where they are. And then once again, slide those balls further down the spine. We're about at the halfway mark. Check to see where you are working with the balls. And let the balls come down a titch further, readjusting yourself. Check in with your breath, that it's nice, long, slow, and deep. Check in with your body, that you're not bracing. Once again, allowing the balls to come down a little bit further. Now, as we get down, down, down towards the bottom at the end, we're all going to land in different places. Some of you might feel that you need to end before you get down very far into the bum. I like to take the balls all the way down to my sit bones. So just listen to what your body's asking. When that happens. If you haven't reached the center of your back yet, I would encourage you the next time we move the balls to move them a little further than normal, that you normally have been. Again, go ahead and move those balls another inch or so down. Are your arms still comfortable, or do you maybe need to move them into a bit of a different position to find that comfort and ease that you need? And go ahead and move those balls a little bit further down. If you've been doing this with your legs long, we're probably getting close to that place where you're going to want to bring your knees up in easy resting pose, just as a reminder. And go ahead and move those balls another inch or so down. We're getting closer to the end of the spine. And after this one, we'll have 2 more timed sequences with the balls. It's especially important now to check in with your body for holding tension. It's very easy to do it down towards the end. And once again, slide the ball back down a little further. And one last time, just slide the ball down to the final resting place. And then remove those balls and allow your legs to grow nice and long. And once again, just check in with your body, noticing any shifts or changes. And then I'm going to ask you to bring your left foot onto the floor with the left knee up in the air and allow that left knee to drop a little bit away from the body externally. And then gently pressing through that left foot and the right heel, start to lift that left hip up and try to keep that pelvis nice and stable as you roll over onto your right side. And then curl up there for a moment. And then bring yourself back upright into a seated position again. And then in this position, I'm going to ask you to bring your hands into prayer hands. And I'm going to ask you to take the thumbs and just gently press them into your sternum, just bracing yourself a little bit there. Try to keep the chin in alignment with the fingers. And we're going to just do some gentle twists here in the upper torso, to the left and the right. And then take one of your hands and bring them behind your back onto the floor behind you. Down towards the base of the spine. And take the opposite hand and bring it across the body onto the leg. And then just use the hand on the leg to gently help you twist your body around. Bring your head around like you're trying to look over the shoulder. And release both the hands and swing around the opposite way. And release. Let's bring our hands forward in the Hasta Mudra. Again, that's a gesture both of offering and receiving. And just allow yourself to release the fear of not having enough in life. Being willing to receive all the gifts that are given to you. And then let's release from this. And it'll be time for our final relaxation. So get cozied up, lying on the floor. Having your feet in easy resting pose with the knees in the air if you'd like that, to give your psoas a little extra TLC. And give yourself a little energy boost for the evening. Or if you prefer, you can have your legs long, propped up underneath the knees, maybe an eye mask on, maybe a pillow under the head. Just check in with your body once again. Give it a little thank you for all the work it's done for you this last week. And then I'm going to share a poem with you by Donna Foltz called Go In and In. Go in and in. Be the space between two cells, the vast resounding silence in which the spirit dwells. Be sugar dissolving on the tongue of life. Dive in and in as deep as you can dive. Be infinite, ecstatic truth. Be love conceived and born in union. Be exactly what you seek, the beloved, singing yes, tasting yes, embracing yes, until there is only essence, the all of everything expressing through you as you. Go in and turn away from nothing that you find. And letting the toes and the fingers move. Allowing the feet to roll on the ankles and the hands to roll on the wrists. Allowing your body to stretch any way that it needs. And hugging the knees to the chest and rolling the back out. And allowing yourself to stretch nice and long. Any way that you need. And hugging the knees to the chest again and rolling over onto your left side in this curled up position. Just push yourself gently back upright into a seated position. Get nice and comfortable, back nice and long, spine straight. We're going to do 2 minutes of meditation. And again, we'll work with the loving kindness meditation, allowing my words to be your words. And then you can repeat it to yourself in silence. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease of heart. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease of heart. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease of heart. May all beings find happiness. May all be free of disease. May all see what is auspicious, and may no one suffer. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awaken to the light of your own true nature. May you be healed. May you be a source of healing for all beings. Thanks so much for practicing with me today.